Hello. On page 142 of Immanuel Kant's The Critique of Pure Reason states, examples are the cornerstone of judgment. The examples we see will dictate the judgment we use. Poor examples, poor judgment. Cowardly examples, cowardly judgment. Courageous examples, courageous judgment. Ladies and gentlemen, like many of you, I was born into a chaotic family. I was born sick with a condition called meconium aspiration syndrome. This is a condition where a fetus is subject to such stress that it has a bowel movement inside of its own amniotic fluid. This biomaterial is made of dead epithelial cells and bile salts, and it's very sticky, and when it gets trapped into the respiratory area of the fetus, it can cause a lot of damage to respiratory tissue. I spent 2 months in intensive care having this material cleared from my lungs. I was placed in foster care until I was 3 years old, and my mother reacquired me. From 3 to 6, my mother gave me experiences that was nothing short of terror. And that terror manifested in many different ways. But the most prominent way that I can remember was during bath time. My mother would make the water so hot that she just took pleasure in watching me in distress. That water would be so hot, and as soon as I stepped foot in it, I began to scream and holler. And she would just force me down in the water, which sent shockwaves through my spine. At 6 years old, when I was separated from her, I knew 3 things. I knew my mother didn't care about me, that I hope I never see her again, and that my father couldn't protect me from my mother's cruelty. By the time I was 12, my life had been filled with so much chaos and instability that I fell behind academically. I was labeled educationally mentally retarded and placed in special ed. They told me I didn't learn like everyone else. I remained there for 5 years, got out, and I was able to graduate high school with a below C average. I had gaps in my knowledge that weren't filled with foundational information from my youth and years before. Ladies and gentlemen, it was also at this time that I discovered that nobody was coming to my rescue, that I was all alone, and I was going to have to navigate these treacherous waters of life by myself. And if I was going to be successful at it, I needed better examples, courageous examples, examples of kindness, care, and empathy. Those examples came in the form of Dr. Chodoff. Dr. Chodoff was my pediatrician, and he embodied what I wanted to be for the rest of my life. I vowed then at 12 that I was going to be a medical doctor who used my medical degree to relieve undue suffering of others. Number 1, relieve undue suffering. Number 2, create a family of my own. Become a medical doctor, use my medical degree to relieve people of undue suffering and create my own family. And I set out to do that. When I turned 13, I hit the streets right away earning money. I sold what I could until I turned 16 and I got a legal job working at Burger King. I worked a while, got some good experience. At 17, got a job at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Worked a while, got some good experience, left, and at 18, got a job at a law firm, got some wonderful experience. And at 19, I had a wonderful opportunity to work as an electrician's apprentice under an electrical contractor who was eager for help. And I was eager to learn. I was so eager that I would take bundles of wire home to practice wiring diagrams for the next day so that I can do my job faster. It took 2 years before Larry Money, the contractor, offered me a position to run his business while he semi-retires, making more money than I ever made at the time, $1,000 a week. I had to turn him down. For skill acquisition and opportunity, I was hungry. I turned 21 on a Thursday, and that very same night, I started my new job as an exotic dancer, a job that I wanted to do for quite some time. I didn't want to have to chase women. I needed to chase my career. I needed to find a way for them to chase me. I started out with a group called Sunset Strip. I worked with them for about 6 months and got some training, and then quickly moved to New York. When I arrived in New York, I arrived on a Friday and found 3 jobs. An electrical job and 2 jobs at a nightclub. My electrical job, I found through the phone book. I looked and found the most brightest, colorful ad and called them. Told them, hey, I can see you guys are looking for electricians. My name is Barletta. I'd like to come work for you. Let me prove it. On one day that you choose, I'll start with your crew in the morning and work until evening, whatever it is, whatever the job is. And if you like me at the end of the day, you hire me. If you don't, I'll shake your hand and thank you for the opportunity. He says, well, when can you start that? I said, Monday. I'll see you then. That day, I went to a nightclub that was recommended. They hired me on the spot, and I started with them that night. The next day, I went to another club. They hired me, and I started that night. And then on Monday, I started my electrical job. I did that for 3 years. Electrician in the day and exotic dancer at night, for no other reason, just for acquisition of skills. On my birthday, turning 25 years old, on that day, I was in combat discharging my weapon. I joined the Army as an 11 Bravo combat infantry soldier. Not necessarily because I was super patriotic. It's because it was a part of my skill acquisition. The experiences I needed, the experience of acquiring the skill of compassion, care, kindness, trust, loyalty, and mercy. All of the qualities and things that I didn't learn as a kid in my youth. Now I've acquired them. Now I can practice them to do my ultimate assignment of helping people live longer, better lives without suffering, with minimal suffering. Les Brown said it best. If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. But I did have an enemy within, and it was doing me harm, and that enemy was fear. The fear came from my mother. But God, what my mother meant for evil, God used for good. He turned my fear into power that allowed me to learn skills that will help other people ease their suffering. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me today. My name is Dr. Harold Barletta. I'm a medical doctor entrepreneur. I'm board certified as a medical affairs specialist. I invest in healthcare, entertainment, and education. I work outside your traditional medical institutions, hospitals, and clinics. I work directly within the community, providing community housing for elderly and disabled people, elderly and disabled citizens. I provide housing that favors thriving. Not only is the housing community where people take accountability for each other to some degree, they thrive. Living is expected. I'm expecting you to live, but thriving is mandatory. This house is designed and with thriving in mind. I train my caregivers to give excellent medical and non-medical care and companionship to residents. Also, I work with colleges and high schools teaching physics, biology, environmental science, CPR, AED, and first aid. You see, people, fear will keep you paralyzed. Fear will keep you stuck. You must replace fear with determination and purpose. I replaced my fear with purpose, and I was able to always get the outcome I wanted. A wise man, wise and courageous men are way beyond fear. And as a result, they're truly free. Free to see the larger vision of themselves. Free to develop methods and techniques, to organize your time and energy, to develop your passions and goals. Free to reach outside your comfort zone to improve and change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, let me tell you what I learned about fear. It doesn't exist. It's just something we tell ourselves doesn't exist. Something I made up in my mind that never happened. When I replaced that fear with purpose, I kept fulfilling my purpose. I told myself when I was 12 I was going to be a medical doctor so I can relieve people of suffering. That was my calling. That was my mission. It must happen. And to produce a family of my own. I didn't come from a good family. I had to create my own family. Those things came to pass. And I'm very happy that I saw it through. Once I replaced fear with purpose. You can do it too. What fear do you have that you can replace with purpose to get down the line to finish whatever you started that allow you to give your gifts to society? We need them. Isn't that you?